All right, the 10-Day Tony Show is back in your life. And before anything, we have a lot of fun on the show. We do a lot of stuff here, but I want you to do something for me, okay? I do a lot of stuff for you. I need you to do something for me. I need you to go wherever it is on your screen right now that the subscribe button is at. Hit it. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the notifications. Hit whatever button you need to hit to make sure that this content gets to more people's hands and more people's eyes and more people's ears. If you like it, they'll like it too. I'm very excited and very thankful for everybody who's followed me on this journey to whatever this ends up looking like. We got a lot of stuff to get to on the show today. I want to talk NFL. Obviously, we're in the 2 weeks of the little buffer zone between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. I want to get to Super Bowl stuff. I want to get to where I was big time wrong on the Seattle Seahawks. I want to get to some Giannis conversations that I want to have. I want to get to UFC over the weekend. We had a massive fight between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. A lot of stuff to get to on the show. Let's go.
The 10-Day Tony Show.
All right, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC, and then in the AFC, obviously we know the Patriots beat the Broncos. Both teams 14-3 in the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Seahawks. I want to start with the Seahawks because there was not a team that I was almost more down on than the Seattle Seahawks to start the season. I think they were either 60-1 or 70-1 to actually win the Super Bowl, and now they're sitting here 4.5 to 5 point favorites, depending on what book you look at. I was so wrong about the Seattle Seahawks, as I usually do at the beginning of the NFL season. I'll take a composition notebook and I'll go through every team. I'll look at their offense, their defense, their coaches, schemes they've run. I do a lot of work on Warren Sharp's preseason book. He has a ton of great metrics, a ton of advanced analytics and numbers that you can kind of pour through to kind of get a good look at what's going on with the certain team. And I started in the NFC West, and I was like, man, the Rams are going to be kind of an interesting team this year. I think their defense is going to take a step forward. Offensively, I think they're going to be good. 49ers, if they're healthy, I think they could probably make a run to the Super Bowl. I wrote on my Substack that I think if Brock Purdy was healthy the entire season and everybody else with them was healthy for the entire season, Brock Purdy maybe could have won MVP. Again, that's another conversation for another day. I actually take that as I was right because he got hurt, and when he did play, he was excellent. That's neither here nor there. As I thought the Cardinals were not going to be good. I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan. You guys already know that. I didn't think they were going to be good from the jump. But as I looked at the Seahawks, I saw this team. I knew their defense was going to be better than average. I thought they were going to be on the good side. Mike Macdonald's an incredible defensive coach, obviously, as we know that. My worry was, are they going to be as offensively potent as years past with Geno Smith? Right? Geno Smith came in, was way better than what we thought he was going to be. And the fact that Clint Kubiak was there now, I was like, okay, the offense has the building blocks to maybe be good. We saw Sam Darnold be good in Minnesota, right? He went 14-3 with Kevin O'Connell, but obviously he had Justin Jefferson. He had a lot of pieces there to help him. As I was looking at the offensive line, I was like, I'm kind of worried. I think they're young. I don't think they're experienced. I think they have a lot of holes at guard. I don't know if Zubel's going to be that good. And on and on and on, right? I didn't think Jackson Smith and Jigba was going to be the number one wide receiver in the entire league, basically. K9 I thought was okay, but I thought he had moments where he kind of disappeared. He would minimize in some games. I didn't think they had a really good number two, which I was actually kind of right about, because Cooper Kupp I thought was dust from last year. And as the season progressed, it was like, okay, this defense is for real. We know that. But Sam Darnold continued week in and week out to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I thought, there's no way that a smart, genius coach like Kevin O'Connell would look at Sam Darnold, would be able to coach him up to the level that he was coached up at for them to go 14-3, obviously losing in the playoffs. They had McCarthy already kind of waiting in the wings. I didn't think that you would be able to let a quarterback like that go that would help your team get to that level, right? And if Kevin O'Connell says, hey, look, we got J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to go with J.J. McCarthy. We're going to let Sam Darnold walk because we're not going to pay him. That to me said, all right, he knows that his system, he can kind of throw anybody in there and they can perform, right? We did not see that with J.J. McCarthy this year. That's a whole other situation. I'm sure Kevin O'Connell's kicking himself for letting Sam Darnold walk. But Mike Macdonald saw what he did over there. Clint Kubiak saw what he did over there and said, all right, we can kind of replicate what happened over there and create a lot of play action pass, run the ball, be able to throw situationally. And man, they were just an incredible offense, right? They were just an incredible offense. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Can we check? Sean, can you check how many yards Jackson Smith and Jigba went for this year? Because I want to say he was close to 2,000. It was like at least 18 something. Caught probably 105 balls for like 18 something and 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns. Let's see. I'm going to look it up right now. Okay, so almost 1,800 yards. Yeah, like he was one of the best receivers in the league. And you do not have that usually attached to a guy like Sam Darnold. Through the last 2 seasons, Sam Darnold has had more QB wins than anybody in the NFL. He's gone 14-3 the last 2 years. And obviously, as you win in the playoffs, that goes up. So he had 28 regular season wins. I think he's probably had 30. Yeah, he'd be at 30, 31 wins. That's an insane statistic. That's an insane statistic for a guy who is a journeyman, for a guy who was left to rot on 5 different teams. That was a complete bust. People thought that he was going to be people thought when he got out of USC, when he got to New York, that he was going to be what he is now. And that just shows you the longevity of the league, the longevity of Sam to continue to press and keep going and working through being in terrible places like Carolina, having to go to relearn and be taught from one of the great minds in Kyle Shanahan over with the 49ers for a little bit, learning from Kevin O'Connell, now learning from Clint Kubiak. Like, he's put in the work to be what we thought he was going to be when he got drafted. He's the first quarterback of that draft class to make it to a Super Bowl, and that's with Lamar Allen, that's with Josh Allen. Put it this way, Josh Rosen is like, what is he doing now? He's like a financial advisor. Josh Rosen, who people thought was better than Sam Darnold, is now a financial accountant, and Sam Darnold's playing in the Super Bowl. If I would have told you draft night, hey, by the way, one of these 2 guys is not going to be playing in the NFL, and he's going to be a financial accountant, you'd be like, what are you talking about? One guy's going to be in the Super Bowl, one guy's going to be at Merrill Lynch. Guess who? And Sam Darnold has just proven all the haters wrong. He's had an incredible season, man. And for my view on the Super Bowl, on the Pats side now, right? I was completely wrong about what the Seahawks, what I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to be a middling team, 8-9. I thought they were going to be okay, maybe try and fight for a wild card spot. Ended up being the best team in the NFC. So I was wrong about that. On the other side, I was very optimistic about what Mike Vrabel was going to do with the New England Patriots. I thought that Drake Maye was going to be able to kind of take that next step. When you look at the guys in his draft class, we're obviously talking about Caleb Williams. We're talking about Jaden Daniels. We're talking about guys that when Jaden Daniels, we'll start there. He was great from the jump, right? Obviously, this past year, he had a lot of injuries. Their offense was kind of stagnant when he wasn't there, clearly. But even when he was there, they were a little bit constipated. Caleb Williams, not play, with Ben Johnson, has opened up what he's been able to do and look great throughout the year and throughout the playoffs. Had some stumble moments, but really turned things on and was able to make incredible plays through down the stretch of the last couple of games for him. Now enter Drake Maye, who is arguably one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL, even in his second year or third year, whatever it is. His ability to create off-schedule plays is some of the best in the NFL, even at this young age. His athleticism is great. You think he's kind of this pocket passer, and all of a sudden you turn around and he's 15 yards the other way, hauling ass. And he was able to really put the team on his back in Denver and able to make those plays where, again, nobody was open. Denver's defense is great. The pass rush is incredible. It's coming out a million miles an hour. He's able to escape, get first downs, get that long run that set up, I think, a field goal that ended up winning the game, ended up being the game winner. And obviously the last call that he had on the fake, which was not called in the huddle, by the way. That was a run the entire time to Ramondre Stevenson. And at the last second in the huddle, Drake Maye called his own number and said, I'm going to do a naked bootleg and I'm going to just run and get the first down. And thank God, luckily, he was able to outrun whoever it was on the outside. I don't remember who was chasing him, but was able to get the corner, get the edge, and get that first down. So the ball's on this kid. He's a tough runner. He's a tough passer, very cerebral. Against the blitz, I think I want to say it was 17 touchdowns, no picks when blitzed. It's a pretty good number. Now, you look at across the ball and what what Seattle's going to want to do, they're going to want to blitz. They're a very blitz happy team with Mike Macdonald. They create a lot of situations where the quarterback is going to be confused. I talked about it on the Levitar show last week, but I think one of the best situational defensive calls I've ever seen was that 4th down play where the Rams are going in, trying to score, trying to keep the game close, go up a little bit so they can, have a little bit of a buffer. And Matthew Stafford gets to the line. There's 7 down linemen. You don't know who's coming up. You don't know who's going down. He takes the snap. He's looking around, trying to find his mismatch, trying to find where he's got an opening. And then all of a sudden, 5 guys drop. They rush 2, and they've got 9 guys in the defensive secondary. And you're like, every single person is double covered. He threw it to the one guy who was single covered. I think it was Parkinson or Ferguson. I don't remember who it was. One of their tight ends that ended up almost being picked off. But the Seattle Seahawks are great situationally. And I think that's an ode to Mike Macdonald and what he's able to do coaching up that defense. A couple of stats off the top of my head, so if I don't have them exactly perfect, forgive me. Matthew Stafford on 3rd and 4th downs in the NFC Championship game was 0 for 7 on 3rd and 4th downs. That's not good. When you talk about situational football, 3rd down, trying to get your defense off the field on 3rd down, on 4th down is imperative. Going back to the national championship game that we haven't talked about, but that was a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. Miami could not get Indiana off the field on 3rd down, could not get Indiana off the field on 4th down. If you can get your defense off the field in crucial downs in 3rd and 4th, more than likely you're going to win the game. If the quarterback who is playing an insane game, who's got 360 yards and 3 touchdowns, if he's 0 for 7 on 3rd and 4th down, you're going to be winning the game, barring something insane happening. Like, that's just great situational football. This is the other stat off the top of my head, and I'll try to find it so we can put it here underneath. In the last 8 or 9 games, Seattle's defense has led up 64 points to the LA Rams. And that's in 2 games. In all the other games in those 7 weeks, they've led up 64 points. So it goes to show you that it's a very Rams-centric thing where the Rams just have the Seahawks number, and every other team is struggling trying to score on this defense. Now insert the Patriots, who you've seen come up, and they haven't really had a great offense in the playoffs thus far because they had the game against Houston that was slushy, that was wintry mix, that was sleet, that was no snow, but it was wet and it was cold and it was slushy. So they weren't really able to move the ball in the way that we've seen the Patriots team this season, where they've had good weather, be able to stretch the field. Kayshon Boutte had that incredible one-handed catch in that Houston game. They were able to spread the field some, but they weren't a complete offensive dynamo like we've seen them be. And then now in the game against the Broncos, their offense struggled in the first half. They were able to get that touchdown from the Jared Stidham backwards pass that ended up being a fumble. They got a field goal. They missed a field goal. They scored 10 points. And obviously Denver's got one of the best defenses in the league, has the best pass rush, I think, per numbers from a pressure and sack perspective. Patrick Surtain Jr. is insane, obviously, one of the best corners in the NFL. So you have all these pieces where you make the excuse for Drake Maye. All right, yeah, he's playing against an incredible pass rush. He's playing against a great corner. Houston's defense, if it weren't for their offense being as bad as they were because of C.J. Stroud throwing 4 picks, Nico Collins didn't play. If you didn't have that, Houston could have been a dark horse to win the Super Bowl based on the defense alone, right? So they've played 2 incredible defenses. Now they play a 3rd incredible defense in Seattle. But I'm very interested to see what is going to happen with Drake Maye because he doesn't have an embarrassment of riches on the outside. Kayshon Boutte's okay, right? Diggs is 5 years past his prime. Their running backs are okay. I really like Henderson. Ramondre Stevenson, for whatever reason, has a chokehold on RB1. Who am I missing? Their tight ends, Hooper, Hunter, just average, right? Their offense is very average, but they've got a special guy at quarterback. And I think Josh McDaniels has been able to really maximize and emphasize what Drake Maye is great at. And they've just ridden that wave to a 14-3 record, now sitting there at the Super Bowl. And it's like, oh, shit, okay, here we are. We're going to play, one of the best teams in the NFL. And you look around and say, wait a second. We are one of the best teams in the NFL, 14-3, and won all their road games went 9-0 on the road this year, which is unheard of. I don't think outside of the Patriots from 2007, I don't know if there's been another team. Well, Dolphins in 72, obviously, too, if they went undefeated. But to win 9 games on the road is an insane feat. Insane feat to win 9 games on the road, especially when a lot of those games you were underdogs. A lot of those games you maybe didn't have your full cast of characters. It is one of the most random Super Bowls from a perspective of these two teams we didn't think were going to be good, especially when the Patriots lost to the Raiders in week 2. Where it's like, oh, wow, okay, things can get really, really bad here for New England. And since then, after that point, I think they went like 14-1 or 13-2 or whatever it was. So it's like very, very cool stories on both sides. We'll get more into some stuff projecting for that game and talking about the Super Bowl next week during Super Bowl week. But I just wanted to say how wrong I was about Seattle. And then on the Patriots side, what a cool story and what a dynamic player Drake Maye, I think, is going to be. So I think that's one. Drake Maye versus Seattle defense. Sam Darnold versus a very good Patriots defense is going to be a very cool matchup to watch out for. So drifting over to the association in the NBA, obviously the biggest news, Giannis Antetokounmpo is out and about, and he's trying to find a new home, according to Shams Charania. If you want to find my full thoughts and everything we have to do, go check out the crossover with me and Keon Dooling. You can find that at the crossover show _ on Instagram. Check the crossover show on YouTube. Subscribe there too. We talk ad nauseum. We talk at length about Giannis and all the different places that he can go. But from the latest news that is happening right now, the Heat and the Timberwolves are lead suitors. Golden State is also a very, very interesting place, and a lot of people are coming out and saying that Golden State can be a landing spot for Giannis because Milwaukee really values the picks that would be attached to that trade post Giannis or post Steph and then post Giannis. My thought process, and I'll encapsulate it here, of what I said on the crossover was, I think it makes more sense for Giannis to go to the East instead of staying in the West. I mean, you look at what the West has from a team perspective, and it's just murderer's row top to bottom. The first 6 seeds in the West, you're like, how do I even start trying to compete against the Oklahoma City Thunders, the Denvers when Jokic is healthy, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Clippers, all these different teams. If Luka and LeBron kind of get things going, the Lakers can be a tough out. The West is just so stacked. It just doesn't make sense to me, if I was Giannis, to look at that Western Conference and be like, yeah, I think with no Jimmy Butler, with a degraded Draymond Green, with all the assets that I'm going to have to let go of to go to Golden State, I'm going to have enough to compete for championships immediately. And then when Steph goes in about a year and a half or 2 years, depending on how much he feels like he has left to prove, he's face of the franchise, won all the titles, the greatest three-point shooter of all time. He doesn't have much to prove. He's made all the money. He's done everything. He's won the gold medals. He's done everything, right? He has the moments. When he ties it up and ends up being, Hall of Fame in the rafters, everything, Giannis is going to still be in hell, and he's just going to be in Milwaukee West because they're not going to have anybody. He's going to be looking around and seeing Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Pajemski, or whoever is actually here, is not enough to win titles. So I think Giannis has to be in the Eastern Conference. I think New York is an interesting place, clearly, because they've got some pieces that would be a good fit around him. I just still think Miami is the place to be when it comes to the infrastructure, when it comes to the coach, to the front office, to the pedigree, championship pedigree that they have. I know a lot of assets are going to be walking out that door, but if you got Bam, if you got Giannis, you're already starting off on a good foot in the Eastern Conference that is very wide open. It's been the most wide open it's been in a long time because there is really no team that is elite, right? Detroit is very good. They're young, inexperienced. Boston doesn't have Tatum. He's talking about that he's probably not going to play this year. Jaylen Brown's been great, but Boston is not Boston without those two guys. The Knicks have been up and down. They've been, trying to figure out what's going on in that locker room for a good amount of time. They've lost a ton of games since Christmas. So the boat is a little bit rocky. If Giannis goes, all right, we're going to Miami. We're going to try and figure this out. I know that I've got the best coach in the league. I know that I've got a great front office that's going to help me create the infrastructure needed to bring championships not only to the city, but to my resume. That seems like the right place to go. So right now, I'm going to hope, as a South Florida guy, that Miami is the place that Giannis will end up. Who's to know? But right now, Golden State seems to be in the lead just because the asset allocation that the Warriors have and that what they'd be able to send over to Milwaukee is what Milwaukee's really looking at, saying, all right, that's the nuts right there. That's everything that we would need on top of the salary filler with Jimmy Butler, on top of maybe getting a decent young player out of Kuminga, Podziemski, somebody that we can have right now. Warriors looking to be that team. So that's the update on the Giannis situation right now. More stuff, obviously, as the trade deadline looms closer. I want to say the trade deadline is February 5th. And we are looking at, next Thursday. So a week from today, February 5th is the trade deadline, and we'll see exactly what's going on. So that was the NBA talk. Over to UFC really quick. Obviously, you guys know I do MMA Hangout. We had one over the weekend. We've got another one looking forward now to UFC 325. So let's talk UFC 324 really quick. In the main event, Paddy Pimblett I was surprised. I was surprised because when they lined up Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, I was like, okay, this is going to be Paddy's toughest test when it comes to the pedigree of somebody who he's going to be in the cage with, the lethalness of somebody that he's going to be in the cage with. I wasn't a huge Paddy fan before. I thought that he was fighting a lot of guys that were past their prime, the Bobby King Greens, the Tony Fergusons, the Michael Chandlers, a lot of guys that were good once upon a time, but are not good anymore. And you've got a young guy who's hungry, who's very skilled. Like, I will not take that away from Paddy. He's very skilled. But what surprised me more than anything was stepping into the ring with Justin, who we know can throw absolute haymakers, kicks, punches, who's a cinder block for hand kind of guy who will go and stand in the middle of the octagon and fight you like he did with Max Holloway. He may get knocked out. He may knock you out. Like, that's the game you play with Justin. And for Paddy to be able to stand there and bang with him the entire fight. And there was moments where we thought Paddy was going to be down for the count, where Justin was hitting him with hammer fists, when he was getting hit with elbows. When everything was falling down, Paddy continued to get up, continued to get to the center of the octagon, and continued the fight, man. And there was a couple times where Justin got a little woozy. Paddy hit him with a flurry of a couple punches where I was like, uh-oh, Justin, buddy, you had the chance to knock him out a couple different times. Don't get knocked out. Please don't get knocked out, because we will never hear the end of it, as you know, the Paddy the Baddy supporters go crazy. But I was very encouraged with what Paddy was able to do from a pain tolerance and just dog standpoint of not getting knocked out. It was really cool. Cool to see Justin Gaethje get a second interim belt. Ain't that a bitch? He's got to fight. He gets the interim belt, has to fight Khabib, then gets the interim belt and has to fight Ilia Topuria. Right? Like, the guy can't win. The guy can't win. So Ilia has already made it known. All right, if it's Gaethje, we're looking at maybe Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria on the White House lawn in June to unify the lightweight belt. That would be crazy. I think that would be an incredible fight. I think Ilia knocks him out, though. That's just my thought. Fast forwarding to this weekend, we got a bunch of good fights over down under. We got Australia for UFC 325. Let me pull up real quick the lineup. So we've got some cool fights. I'm excited for the title fight. Obviously, we've got the featherweight title on the line. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez 2. Volk was able to piece up Diego Lopez last year in a way where we were like, man, Volk is coming off a bunch of knockouts between the Islam knockout, between the Ilia Topuria knockout. We were like, I don't know if Volk's gonna ever be the same. Up there in age, obviously battle-tested champion, possibly one of the greatest featherweights of all time. Diego Lopez looked to be like a absolute screaming comet going through the division. Volk was able to piece him up and was able to take care of business in a pretty, surprising way, I think, for people that watch UFC and watch MMA. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in this rematch, because it's tough for guys that are that advanced age, like Volk is, to continually beat guys that are younger that have that motor. Diego Lopez, obviously great on his feet, very fast, technical, able to play the ground game well too. I think it's going to be an experience versus age thing. Volk has the experience. He's been through these deep waters. Diego Lopez starting to get there. It's just really hard once you hit that age cliff over 35 to come out and be the best you can, fight in and fight out. So I think I'm going to lean Diego Lopez for this fight. I want to see what the odds are. Let's see. We are looking at. Damn, it doesn't tell me. Okay, no biggie. I will find the odds. I want to say Volk is probably a favorite, but we'll see. Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. That's going to be another banger of a fight in the lightweight division as the co-main event. We've got Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Hufi. That's going to be a banger. Tai Tuivasa, who last we heard was 300 plus pounds. He's fighting Taliesin Teixeira. A bunch of good fights, man. Junior Tafa's on the card. Cody Bruntage. That's a name you. Oban Elliott, very fun name if you're new to the sport and you want to check out Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott's going to be a very fun fight versus Jonathan Mikalev. But all eyes on the featherweight title. All eyes on the featherweight title as I continue to try and find the odds for this fight, which I will get you guys before we hang up here. Hold on. Let's see. I'm gonna find it. Here we go. We are looking at Volk minus 148 on the money line and Diego Lopez plus 124. So you're looking at the sportsbooks being this is a very tight fight. Obviously, we're gonna give a little bit of the edge to Volk as the champion, as the guy who we saw beat Diego Lopez pretty handily in the last time that they fought for the title. Gonna be a hell of a fight, man. UFC is back in a big way. The Paramount Plus cards, the last one was great. We're excited for what is to come, and we will be live at Dev Flamingo, 9 p.m. start time for MMA Hangout on Saturday. So if you're in the South Florida area, go check us out at Dev Flamingo. If you're not, go check us out on the Le Batard Show YouTube page. We'll be doing our MMA Hangout live at 9 p.m. So that's that. We'll have a couple of shows come up next week, prepping for the Super Bowl. We'll recap what happened at UFC 325. We'll see if there's Giannis situations. We'll have some trade deadline updates in the NBA. All that stuff coming for you next week on the 10-Day Tony Show. But like I said in the beginning, if you got to the end of this video, like, subscribe wherever it is on the box. I can't see it. I'm stuck in this box just talking to you. I can't see where it is. Go like, subscribe, follow me at 10-Day Tony on all your preferred platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, everything. Same channel, same place. Your boy is there at 10-Day Tony. Peace.
The 10-Day Tony Show.